Okay, here we go. I have the recording on. This is Design 300. It's the lecture on Tuesday, August 31st. And what we'll be going over mainly is site work, water, gas, and electrical. Mostly the information is online and posted for you to look at, but I'll do a demo so that you can sort of get the hang of what to do in the submittal and how to get there. If you haven't done this type of research before, it can get a little bit hard. I'll address a couple of questions. A few people said, "Oh, I didn't know where to find the video." So if you look here, it says in the weekly YouTube playlist, So you would have to go to the weekly YouTube playlist. So let me go see if I can find the weekly YouTube playlist for this week. That will be, again, go to the header for the one, and look, that's right here. Okay, mine looks a little different because I have all of mine showing, but you can go right there, and somewhere down here, up there's the YouTube playlist right there. And if you click on that, it will take you to the YouTube playlist. Now, I put this one right at the top because it can be a little bit hard to figure out. You've got all these things to watch and all these things to do. And this little video right here, Study Skills, Know What is Important, is key to good habits that make you efficient in your study. So I'm going to encourage you all to watch that before we go on. Okay? So that's how you get to the stuff. Remember, everything is on this bar right here. Everything is there. There's the link to any software. I'm gonna demo that on Thursday. The link to our meets, the playlist, the reading list, and samples for you. Also, what to do for the discussion postings, simulations. Okay, just read the basic operations here. You don't have to do the whole thing. There's some calculations. I might go over those today. And there's your submittal. So one of the things that it says to do in that little video is to do exactly what I just did. Read the main items at the beginning of the week and then kind of know what you're going to do. And then the next most important thing is go to the submittals and get an idea of what's going to be required. So let me do that. I have it open here. And here's this again. And remember, the scheduled hours are intended to be, what did you think at the beginning of the week? So you should fill that out now. The actual hours are, what did you end up doing? So this gets done at the beginning of the week, and then you think back, try to get that. And then think back to, what did I work on each day? And that would be different deliverables. This is a deliverable. This is a deliverable. This is a deliverable. So you'll think back of those and then tell us which ones of these you did. And look, this is my quick shot to see. I do a lot of first impression work, comes right off of this visualizations. So you will take some work from each of these sheets and put it up here so that I can get a quick idea of what you've done, and then let me know if it's on time. So you're going to have to show evidence that you've read and understood the material on water. So this is where you'll list what material you studied. You'll give links to those sources. And then I've given you a little hint. Okay. I'm looking for you to preview and skim. So you may not know what preview means. I'm going to tell you what that means. And then take some notes and pick some keywords and go use those to get this. All right. So it says here, preview. Tips on efficient reading. Look at the table of contents, bold headings, image captions, write down keywords, look up words that are really confusing, and write down the essential concepts. That's what I'm asking you to do this week. Very, very quick, very broad, very general. Well, I would want to do that on water, on gas, and on electricity. And then I see that there's something to do. I have to revise a Revit file according to this. This little cloud means change this. Add a table. Put your name here. Add a street name. And I'm going to show you how to do this on Thursday. That should take you 5 minutes once you're in the Revit file. Do the same thing. Add some marks for utilities. I spelled it wrong. And draw some lines. I've got videos for you on that show you exactly how to do that. This page, you get a free point. You don't have to do anything. And this is your grading. So that's kind of what I want to get ready for the week. So I'm going to show you on this one. This is a copy. And so I can say this is demo copy. I'm not going to fill this one in. You've got notes on that from what I've graded. Let's do this one. Water. I want to be interested in water. I'm going to do that preview skim. And what that said to do was table of contents, pull, bum. Let's see what it tells me about that. Well, here's a YouTube playlist. Anything about water in here? Well, I might want to just buzz through these so that I have an idea. But this is about water. This is about water. This is about water. So you could, this is about water. So you could look at all those. That would be good. But let me go to the reading list. Here's something, a reading list. That one's not about water. I might want to go, oh, that's demolition, grading, trenching, underground utilities, paving. So this is all good for you to do. I'd like you to skim it and preview it, but you don't have to post about that. Utilities in general tells you about utilities in general, what a utility plan is, and which utilities are important. There's water, supply and sanitary drain. Here we go. Here's a whole thing on water. So I need to know a little bit about all of these, and I'm going to look at one or two of these. Each of these should take you maybe 5 minutes to review. Let's go there. Drinking water. Uh-oh, that's no good. Link didn't work. It was working a while ago. That's a bummer. Go to this one. Oh, here we go. Public water. Okay, so public water system, human consumption, service connections. Public water system. So I might come over to my thing here. And I'm going to write down, I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to say where I am. Right now, I am in public water definitions. And I'm just going to copy that and put it right there. And here's my link. There's the link. So there's a lot of just kind of going back and forth and getting yourself set. What did I find out off of this one? I found out that there's called human consumption, and there's called service connection. Okay, so that's kind of cool. And it tells me what that is. And it tells me what that is. That's groovy. And there are things called community water systems. 25-year-long resident. There's non-community water systems. Transient, resident. And then here's another link if I want it. So that's kind of cool. There's community water system. So that was interesting. What does this tell me about water companies? There's something called a water utility. Domestic companies responsible timely distribution of water. That's another little keyword that I can put in somewhere. Oh, there's regulations. Ooh, water utilities are tightly regulated. There's something called capital spending. I might not know what that means. Might have to look that up. There's growth opportunities. Oh, wow. Non-regulated market. Okay, so that tells me a little bit about stuff. Here's something about distribution systems. Pumping station. That sounds important. Oh, where'd it go? A water tower. That sounds important. Probably even more here. A water main, a fire hydrant, a service line. I'll just put some of those in here. Those sound like keywords to me. Let me see what it says about piping. Oh my gosh, let's see. Water distribution pipe. Oh, here's some pretty important things. This is about. So I might just copy that kind of stuff. Those are the materials. Those are the materials. And I don't know if I'm going to use all this. But I better put some of these links in here. Here's a link from valueline.com. Kind of an interesting place to get stuff from. Here's Wikipedia. I'm going to get that put back in here. Here's engineering toolbox. See if there are any other ones here. Here's something about service connections. Oh my God, let's see. Here's a drawing, metered installation detail. Wow, look at all this. There's something called a service line, a customer to make connection to the setter, a setter, radio read meter. That's kind of cool. So this is a meter installation detail. The purpose behind this is so that you just kind of get an idea of the scope of what's involved. And that you've got it for a future reference if you determine that you need to know more. For this class, I'm just interested that you know sort of some of the terms of what applies to what's out there. So I've taken some notes. I briefly skimmed and did a preview of one of the items. I haven't even really looked at these ones yet, but I could. But that took me 5 or 10 minutes to talk about water. I'd probably spend a little bit more time. And now, these are pretty cool. You can use these. I presented them. Maybe you want to present other ones that are of more interest. There might even be something in this one. Is there an image in this one? Oh, Department of Public Health. That's kind of weird. This one just talks about money. Here's a cool one, but here, this is kind of a neat one. This is a type of connection and how you can splice one on if you've got a leak where you need to kind of like push a hole out, push junk out. So that one is sort of like from a connection. I like that one. I'm going to copy that image. And so that's a service connection. And I would say what that is. This is actually, what is this? This is a probably polybutene pipe. It's under service connections. So I could write in here what that is. It's a and it's also underground. There we go. And so now I'm starting to use some of these things. Let me do fire hydrant. Look, I can come down to this little explore button. And I can type in fire hydrant. I can get, oh, there we go. So that's cool. Those are fire hydrants. And there's different types I can see. So I might even put in multiple types of fire. Look at that one. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And I might even say fire hydrant installation and see if I can get even more cool information. You can do all sorts of things to add to what it looks like. Kind of neat. And look, it looks like there's different types of fire hydrants. There's this kind. That's kind of cool. And then you might be interested to know what the different types are. That's kind of your standard one. What's nice about using these ones over here from that Explore is it automatically lets you know where it went to. Lets you know where those are from. Oop. Let's see just what happens when I put in capital spending on water utilities. Well, that's kind of cool. That was a pretty good one right there. And I can say these are all things that take capital spending. And I could even look up what that means. So when I'm done, I can get rid of these and label these. Lots of ways to do the labels. This is one cool way. Now I got to make that a little bit bigger. Maybe fix this so that it's centered. And I could even give that a little bit of a light color since this is all about blue and water and all that kind of stuff. And maybe I'd want to do the same thing there. So I'll take that one away and watch. I can do a copy of that one so they're all kind of formatted the same. And then paste that back in there. And sometimes people like to do something like that, and I think that can look pretty nice. So you can play around with this. Now, one of the things that I noticed was that some people were jamming these right up into the corner, and visually and graphically, that's very rough on the eye, and it's hard to print. If you get your images and everything right to the edge of what's called your margin or your bleed area, it's tough. So try to get some edge around it, around what you've got. And you can even highlight these and change some colors so that you can actually see it just a little bit. Okay, some people like to crop those to a shape. That's kind of up to you. this is pretty square. So these rounded ones may or may not look good, but you can kind of play with that a little bit to see. Okay. So this is the type of thing, right? Do you get what public water systems are about? There's big infrastructure, there's stuff underground, there's water connections that have to be made. Those all need to be figured out in your designs. And so we're just sort of looking at these. We've got some different materials that you can look at too. And you can go back and check out what some of the materials are. Right? You could even, if you wanted to, take a snip of this to show, and I just did a Control C and Control V. About the materials. These are two different types of hydrants. And I did a lot of work in my professional life with these and with these. This is called a fire department connection. And so this is where the pumper truck hooks to pump into a building. And this is just a standard fire hydrant that a pumper truck will hook into to get a water supply, but then the pump will increase the pressure. So did a lot of work with those throughout my career since I was a water valve guy. So you could do something like that and say fire hydrants. And then these might be the materials. That's really all I'm looking for. Just some good. Do you get water? Now, here's one that would not really do it for me. I'm just going to type in water. This really doesn't tell me anything about the material. It has nothing to do with construction. It's absolutely beautiful and it's neato, but it doesn't tell me much about it. Now, if you put this one in and labeled it as water tower and said that this is part of the distribution system, that would work. And if you put this one in and labeled that as a fixture and said this is the endpoint of a water distribution system, that would sort of work. It would be close. But this is not part of site work at all. So I'd be looking at this one going, okay, kind of. But this doesn't have to do with site work. I want things that have to do with getting water to your site and what happens on the site. So another one I might do was water pipe. That's definitely one, right? That was part of some of the stuff about getting some, putting pipes in, and there was a lot on trenching and site work and things like that. And you'll see how complex it is to get something like that in there. So these would all need some sort of a label, some sort of a picture, and let me know what you studied. If you want to put a keyword list in, you can, but I have not asked for it. So if you decide to put a keyword list in, move these over just a little bit. And you can put in a little thing of keywords, or maybe you could do that right here. This would be a good place. You can merge those. Actually, I'm going to merge those cells. And I'm just going to type in keywords. And you can get it so that it goes to the top. If I right click on it, it tells me to spell it right. Now you can center that if you want. And now you can just start writing keywords that you used. The other thing you can do is maybe adjust some of these sizes so they're all kind of evened out. So I have 2 lines on each one so that those all look kind of the same. There we go. So that's how you might do each one of these. Okay, so I've given you the information to go to study. And this is an online course, so that's really what you need to do is you need to go and follow those lists and do the study. So that's how you would study water, just to get an idea of how do we get water to a site. Sanitary drain and sewage is how to get water away from the site. And there's a lot of information: combined sewers, separate sewers, peak flow, integrated planning. These are all things that you might start, words that you might start thinking about. Sanitary sewer, foul sewer, but you might look at this. Okay, there's some background. There's some different types. I have to think about maintenance, ventilation, history. Now I can start looking: conventional gravity sewers, force mains, effluent sewer. These are all keywords that you can use. Simplified sewer. This was my life. As a student at UC Davis, I worked at the sewage treatment plant. As a design and research and production engineer, I worked with sewage pumps for years. And even when I got into working with clean water, I was on the different versions of this. Okay. Doing this. So there's a lot to be found there. That's what you would do to study water as it relates to site work. I'm not looking at the chemistry of water. I'm not looking at sewage treatment other than it's got to get there. We're looking at, on a building site, what do I need to know about the water? I have to somehow get it from the tower to the building, or the source to the building, and there's some sort of a connection between the service line, and you can see that's what we saw in that picture, the connection from the service line to the customer's side. So that's all about water. Water is key. Now, you might think that for a tiny home or something like that, you don't really need something. But for a tiny home, you either need to hook into the existing utilities, in which case permits are required, or you need to treat it like a mobile, you know, van, right? Or a vacation home or something like that, where you collect like 5 gallons and then you take it to the dump, the collection invert. Okay. And for water, you might hook up to the existing utilities, which means that you have to have a permit, or you have a 20-gallon tank that will last you 3 or 4 days and you have to refill it and things like that. So, how you deal with water on your site is key. When you start talking about sanitary drain and sewage, if you need to use a perk system versus going into a main, a septic system, in other words, a perk system, then there's all sorts of other rules that apply. All of this applies to electrical too. Somehow we get it from the production source through a transmission line, through some sort of they call it trading, but that's where the utilities grab it at a certain price and send it to the different areas. So you can look at, this one's gas. I'm doing gas. Sorry, not electricity. I'm doing gas. Okay, so natural gas can be a neato big thing, and it's clean from the CO2 point of view when you're burning it, but not necessarily when you're developing it. So this is good to know about. Many sites have natural gas delivery. So again, you have to start thinking, how does it get to my site? What do I have to have underground, above ground? What happens if somebody hits it? What happens if somebody hits your line? Not a good thing if somebody hits your line. So that's your gas, and natural gas is really important though. It is energy. What works on natural gas? Many heating systems work on natural gas. Of course, you can have that natural gas brought to you in tanks, or you can have it through delivery pipes. What else works on natural gas? Often, you can get cooking appliances to work on natural gas and drying appliances to work on natural gas. I even had some friends who had a natural gas refrigerator. Pretty old, but they were out in the boondocks, and they could run everything off of natural gas and didn't have to worry about electricity. So natural gas is really important, and you should look those things over. Gas delivery, however, is very dangerous. So if there's an accident in natural gas, you can think of the Burlingame accident in the Bay Area that PG&E went bankrupt over for one time. Of course, electricity can be very dangerous. They went bankrupt again over a series of fires from their power lines. Getting power and energy to a site can be very, very difficult, and it can be dangerous. And so it has to be done. And then you have to start thinking of who pays for it. Is your water metered? Is your storm water metered? Is your sewage metered? Is your gas metered? And who pays for it and how? Okay, so that's all what this is about, and you should just know. Um, that's the responsibility of the site work engineers, either the civil engineers or the architect, are responsible for getting gas from the point of connection, the POC, over to the meter on the building. And then the last thing is electricity. So it's the power plant to the transformer to the transmission line to the substation to the distribution substation to the transformers and to the home or the building. And now, of course, we also have an alternate method of having distributed instead of a power plant, basically a distributed power source that sends it back essentially to this point, and it can go either way after that. Okay? And so you should know how electricity gets to your house, and you should know what your house actually uses. Okay? Most, and anybody got an idea of what type of power is used by most things in your house? Most are actually DC motors. Your refrigerator is a DC motor. Your washing machine is a DC motor. Your vacuum cleaner is a DC motor. Your lights, most of them now are DC if they're on LEDs or fluorescence. Your computer, DC. Your monitor, DC. However, we tend to put AC to DC transformers on each device and run AC through our house. Some more forward-thinking houses and buildings now are putting in DC buses so that you can have, oh, and by the way, most of your landscape controls are also direct current. The motor in your fan, in your air conditioner, is direct current. They're all fed by alternating current wires in your home or in a building, and then we transform them. And in each transformation, you lose usually 5 to 15% of the energy. And so if you've got solar panels and you transform it to alternating current to get onto the grid, and then you transform it back, you're getting about 60 to 80% of the energy that is developed on those solar panels. Okay. So there are some forward-thinking homes and buildings that are putting in DC buses throughout the facility to take advantage of going directly to DC with their devices for their lighting and all that kind of stuff. And at least if they just have to do one transform with a very, very high efficient transformer, they feel that's better. So how electricity gets to your house, usually in our area, it's buried. It comes from the transformer on the power pole, and instead of having a wire drooping to the building, they usually drop it down the pole now and run that wire underground. Okay, so that's what's often done in Northern California and most of Southern California on new construction. Now, if you're in older construction, you'll still see wires draped all over the place going from a pole to a little vent in the house, and that's where your power line comes in, drops down to your distribution box. So that's how it works. Your job is to go through each one of these and just do that preview skim. At other times, I'll ask you to do more. Okay, as you preview skim, you're looking at, again, if we look on tips, tables of contents, bold headings, bold writing, image captions, and what you're doing is writing down keywords, words that you have to look up, and some essential concepts. And you can write those over in the margin, and you can either leave them in here over in the margin or erase them once you have your piece done. Okay. I think that was it. Oh, let me just go on to a little bit more. If I ask you to scan material, that's a little bit different. That's where you use a keyword and you try to find it. So let me use a keyword, connection. Okay, and I'll go to Wikipedia and I'll go Control F and I'll look for the word connection. And I see it 6 times. So on a scan, I could write down, oh, there's a hazard due to cross connections. And corrosion can happen when metal pipe connections are made. And there's something called a service connection, and this one is temporary. Temporary service connection. So that's what a scan would be versus a skim or preview. In a preview, I'd say there's something called water main renewal. There's something called hydrant flushing. There's something called internal corrosion control. And those are all part of maintenance. And then I could say there's something about topologies. That's how you set up ring systems. There's certain components. And the components have water mains, primary feeders, secondary feeders, distributors, service lines, service valves, and a curb stop. Well, that's kind of good information. And you could look up more about those if you want. Okay, so that's more of a scan. And if I ask you to study, you would read this line by line. And you would write down the words that you do know, the right words that you don't know, and you would summarize each paragraph by finding what's called the theme or the key sentence or the takeaway or the what I would remember. So those are sort of efficient reading tips that you can do. And I wish somebody had taught me this when I was in college. I had to learn this when I had to teach my daughter how to read. Okay, so she was not reading well in 3rd grade. So we went to the reading specialist and they actually started teaching this to her. And she started reading very quickly. You'll be interested to know that she has a PhD in library sciences and is a lecturer at King's College in London, teaching digital humanities, which is how to set up your work so that these things can be done efficiently by online tools, particularly for people with disabilities. So I know this works. It's like, this is really good. It's formal, it's straightforward, it's research based, it's been here forever. And it's really cool because I got to learn it as a person who had to be involved in teaching it. And so I've been including this informally in my classes for a long time. And now that we're going online, I'm including this formally. So there we go. That is the lecture. I'm just going to do a quick review. Remember, from your homepage, you'll go to week 2 sites, and that's where everything is located. If you click on that, you will see the playlist, the reading list, some samples, which we will go over on Thursday, individual meet. Those are the things to attend, view, or read. I would take care of doing those early on. There is more stuff to read. Okay, each reading should take you maybe half an hour, 2 minutes. Actually, 10 minutes. Watching the YouTube should take you half an hour. Look at these. Your discussion posting should be quick. There is a simulation to do. You can read how to do it. There is a skill development. I will show that on Thursday. Isaac, welcome in. I'll be getting on to 350 shortly. I don't know which class you're in here for, but welcome in. And then here's your submittal work. So that's where everything goes. Now you'll get a copy of the recording for this lecture, and it will be in the playlist right there. Okay. I will probably also post it somewhere else on here, but that's where you're going to find it. I may call it out specifically right there. Okay. All right, so there we go. Any last questions before I turn the recording off?
Could you please go to the water slide really quick?
Yep, I sure will.
Thank you.
And that one was right there.
In your presentation, in your submittal, the one that you worked on.
Got it. Right there. Oops. Which one am I? Did I close my other ones? Oh, here it is. Got it. That one?
Yeah, thank you.
Is that what you're just looking to see over and see what it looks like?
Yeah, because at the bottom I wanted to add the keywords found in my research.
Oh, okay. And the way I did that is I did a highlight of multiple cells, and then I did a right click, and I did a merge. That's actually how I was able to do that. And it's probably worthwhile for me to put that in the samples, wouldn't it? But let me do that right now. And that's a great idea. No, wrong one. And this is water slide. Thank you. That's for bringing that to my attention. That's a great one to be able to put in. And what I usually do is X through it so people don't try to just copy and paste mine. There we go. Cool. Any other questions on that? Great. Then I'm going to go ahead and close this one out, and I'm going to get ready for my next one. So I'm stopping the recording.